Okay, so we've all been there, right? Staring at a totally blank page, just feeling completely overwhelmed by a writing prompt. If you want to take your English responses from just, good enough to an absolute masterpiece, you are in the exact right place. In this explainer, we're going to be using the ultimate playbook, the architect's blueprint for precise writing and self-evaluation. Because just like a well-built house, you need a solid foundation, a strong framework, and a really rigorous building inspection. So, let's get building.
Here is our blueprint for today's explainer. 1. Decoding prompts. 2. Task conventions. 3. Planning responses. 4. Structuring reflective commentary. And 5. Competent versus excellent writing.
All right, starting with Section 1, decoding the writing prompt, the foundation.
Before we even think about pouring that concrete, we need to ask ourselves, what does concise writing actually mean? I mean, it definitely doesn't mean just writing as little as possible. It's really about making every single word pull its weight. No meaningless waffle, no fluff just to hit some arbitrary word count. It's about selecting the exact, precise language to do the job.
So how do we actually decode the text instructions step by step so you never go off task? First up, identify the keywords. Literally highlight the bare bones of the instructions. Second, clearly define the form. Are we talking a diary, a letter, an article? Step 3, target the key focus. And finally, Step 4, determine the desired effect. Like, what exact mood are you trying to evoke for your reader?
A really great trick is to mentally construct a grid, kind of like the one we're looking at right now, to anchor your writing. Say your form is a diary, right? And you need to write the whole text. Your key focus might be someone who has just moved to a new place. The desired effect? To give a strong sense of the writer's mood. By taking a second to fill out this mental table, your foundation is totally rock solid.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Task Conventions, the Blueprint and Framing.
Okay, so knowing what to write is one thing, but knowing the actual rules of the game, that's entirely different. Take a diary, for example. It absolutely demands a first-person perspective. You're reflecting on the here and now with this deep, personal intimacy. But a magazine article, totally different ballpark. It requires a catchy title, a context paragraph to pull people in, and a really enthusiastic tone to hook a much broader audience. You got to adapt your blueprint to fit the specific form they're asking for.
And to frame your build beautifully, you need the right structural tools. Think about short, snappy sentences. They are incredibly effective for, creating sudden tension. Or a list of 3. It gives your paragraphs that structural variety and just really drives a point home. When you intentionally choose devices like alliteration or repetition, you aren't just showing off a fancy trick. You're actually putting up load-bearing walls that make your writing so much stronger.
All right, Section 3, planning and writing responses, the build.
Here is your definitive drafting sequence. And please, keep your constraints in mind. With a super strict limit of, say, 350 to 400 words, a tight 5 to 6 paragraph structure is absolutely non-negotiable. Generate your ideas first. Outline those paragraphs so you know exactly how the piece starts, develops, and ends, and then get writing. Remember, don't waste a single syllable.
Just listen to how this awesome student example instantly establishes a mood. At last, we're here! It plunges us straight into that diary format, doesn't it? Then, check out this list of 3 negative references: the noise, the smell, and the dirt. It's such a perfect use of linguistic devices to show a real attitude toward the old home, all while completely setting up the excitement for the new one.
Which brings us to Section 4, structuring reflective commentary, the building inspection.
So, the text is built. Now you have to evaluate your work. You basically have 2 options here. Option A is working chronologically, just going paragraph by paragraph. Sure, it's methodical, but honestly, you risk repeating yourself a lot. Option B is working thematically. This means grouping by elements mentioned in the prompt, like color or sound. Let me tell you, option B is usually far superior. It stops the repetition, covers multiple references efficiently, and keeps your commentary incredibly tight.
Now, a huge part of a successful commentary is how you embed your quotes. Please, never just dump a chunky, irrelevant sentence into your analysis. Use specific framing verbs, things like "I tried to convey." And here's a little pro tip for you. You can actually edit the grammar of your original quote just a bit so it fits totally seamlessly into your new sentence. The golden rule here? The grammatical flow should never, ever be broken.
Notice how beautifully the student does it in practice. They introduce the quote with that precise verb, convey. And they don't quote a whole massive paragraph.
They just pluck out the highly relevant words, nodding heads, and flutter. Then, they immediately explain the effect on the reader, pointing out that it emphasizes the way their petals shake. It's precise, it's analytical, and it literally wastes 0 syllables.
And finally, Section 5. Competent versus excellent writing. What actually separates a structurally sound building from an architectural masterpiece?
Let's really look at the difference here, especially when it comes to your reflective commentary. A competent writer definitely gets the job done. They have mostly accurate grammar, clear expression, the basics. But an excellent writer? They use a tightly controlled structure. Their language isn't just clear, it's applied imaginatively for very specific effects. They move from just clear to beautifully fluent. And that tightly controlled structure is the absolute ultimate marker of someone who planned their blueprint perfectly before they even picked up their pen.
So, you've got the architect's playbook. You know exactly how to decode the prompt step by step, master the task conventions, draft with purpose, and rigorously inspect your own work through thematic commentary. The blueprint is quite literally in your hands. So looking ahead to your very next piece of writing, are you going to settle for a competent build, or are you ready to engineer an absolute masterpiece? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep building, and I'll catch you next time.